Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 147 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
And boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a very special guest. Joining us on tonight's episode, Rachel Kane has joined the podcast again. How's it going, Rachel?
Hi, David. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. Always a pleasure to have you on. We have you on today's episode, Rachel, because in light of the recent announcement of the release date of the new Kirby game for the Nintendo Switch, we've decided to do a bit of a Kirby franchise retrospective. There's a fuck ton of Kirby games out there. We're going to do our best to talk about the majority of them, kind of what's worked throughout the franchise's history, maybe what we're looking to be spiced up with this new 3D outing in the Kirby franchise. Excited about all of that. And then, of course, we got lots of news we'll be talking about before we get to the main topic. What do we got? Take-Two just made a huge acquisition. AGDQ just wrapped. We got totals from that. There's some Mario Kart North American Open news, some Steam Deck stuff, Pokémon Legends Arceus, the works, the Nintendo roundtable of news that we will be presenting to you guys today. Before we get into that, how is everybody's week this past week? How's everybody doing?
All good here. I played through Inscription. We'll talk about this at the end. But goddamn, cool. That game is amazing. I get it. Things. I get it why people name it Game of the Year. I think it's sold over 1 million copies on Steam, I've heard. Yeah. Wow. I'm just so blown away by how good it is. I think I like deck building games. That's why I'm kind of like, what is this game? Why is everybody so enamored with it? I can't put my finger on what kind of game it is yet. I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about it. You got to play it. Everyone's got to play it. I'm good. Patrick, how are you?
I'm okay. We did it over here, y'all. We got the COVID. Got it in my house. So yeah, it's booming everywhere, and we're no exception. Elementary school my son goes to is just exploding. Like their numbers are out of control. And last week we got an email like every day saying he'd been exposed, and then on Wednesday night he was coughing before bed. Thursday morning he seemed sick, gave him a test. He's positive. And honestly, thank God for the vaccines and all that stuff, because the three of us have been sick, but not too bad, especially me. It's been very minor for me. I've just had a sore throat, headache, cough, that kind of stuff.
Have you had a fever?
I haven't, but they both did. They both had multiple fevers.
Yeah.
But honestly, for me, it's like if they weren't sick and I didn't know it's COVID, I could be like, I could have thought this was just allergies or something. Yeah. Because I've been pretty fine. The only thing that's made I'm a little low energy because I'm tired, because my wife's been real sick, and so it's been me, and my son has bounced back now, and so but we can't do anything. So he can't go to school.
And it's crazy having just gone back to then immediately go back to quarantine.
Yeah, again, this has been like a real weird month, because it was like, I thought, I'm not getting anything done this month, basically.
So I think that's fair. I think if COVID, you get a fucking write-off, right?
Yeah. This is like, and also like mentally, I just kind of have to be like, nothing's happening. Our house is dirty. It's just your house is just your whole house is Mario Kart home circuit, just like set up everywhere. There is a mess everywhere. Yes, there's toys out and whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Rachel, how are you doing?
We're good. My office has said nobody come back, even if you feel like it. You're not allowed to. I went and got boosted last Wednesday, I think, and got my flu shot at the same time. We had the flu over Christmas. Our in-laws brought that with them, which is really nice. That was fun.
Sorry.
Just illness and sickness and death, ladies and gentlemen, going around out there.
It's so weird being sick after literally not being sick for 2 years straight, because I've been staying home and being careful and wearing masks, and then suddenly being sick is like, oh yeah, this sucks. I hate this.
Paranoia. I've been having an okay weekend. Saturday came into town. She had some illness. She had some COVID in her family, but tested negative and like basically sought refuge here. You know what I mean? And so, we've just been kind of chilling for the most part. Did go out into nature, played a little bit of IRL Breath of the Wild today. Drove out to Enchanted Rock outside of Fredericksburg and did some hiking today. And that was a ton of fun. And got back just recently. Just like
did you find any Korok seeds?
No, I didn't find any Korok seeds, but I did keep finding these giant treasure chests filled with ancient weapons. And so nice. I don't know what to do about those. Anyway, we got some shout outs, Patrick.
Yeah, well, last week we did a show on NFTs and
the other games. Scourge sweeping the
nation. Right. And we had such a great discussion in the Discord. Honestly, so many people and so many comments about the main topic of NFTs and also just minor things we talked about as well, like the Mario Kart rumors and other things. We can't pick anybody to shout out in particular. Just another reminder to come join the Discord community. So much good talk happening there. But yeah, we do like to hear from our listeners either on the Discord, or you can send us a message or comment on any of the other platforms. We appreciate reviews and sharing the podcast in places like Reddit. And also remember to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel.
That's right.
And then we'll talk about gaming news and rumors. Here we go. The biggest acquisition in video game history, dollar-wise, has just happened.
Hey there. David from the future here. This is a little awkward. You're about to listen to us talk about how Take-Two made the biggest acquisition ever in gaming history for like $12 billion. Spoiler, sorry, that's what the news story is. Day after we recorded that, fucking Microsoft dropped 69, first of all, nice. Second of all, $1 billion to completely acquire Activision Blizzard. We obviously didn't have time to record that news. We'd already filmed the whole fucking thing. So here I am coming back from the future to let you know that yes, Microsoft has done what is seemingly the impossible and made the largest video game acquisition of all time, far surpassing the one we talked about here in this story. But we'll be sure to talk about that all next week. So make sure you guys tune into the episode and be safe out there, everybody. Make sure you don't get the Omega variant of COVID, which is currently going around and has wiped out 99% of the population. Anyway, back to the show. You guys don't need to know about that.
Take-Two, who is the big company that owns companies like Rockstar and 2K, has purchased Zynga. And you might not know about Zynga, but you probably know about some of their games like Farmville. And they also, Zynga itself has made a bunch of acquisitions of big mobile games over the years that make a lot of money. I'm trying to think of the name. It's like Toy Blast and Toon Blast. It's like, and all these, mobile games. So the acquisition is valued at like over $12 billion. I guess that must be Zynga, what they're valued at, right?
Wow.
Well, Microsoft bought ZeniMax for like $7 billion, right?
Yeah, it's almost double. I don't know exactly how much the Microsoft one was, but yes,
right,
it's definitely significantly more.
Yeah, and that's like, yeah. I mean, that just goes to show how massive the mobile market is, right?
Yeah. Oh, and also Zynga's making the Star Wars Hunters game that's going to be coming to the Switch at some point. I don't know if they've announced when, but
that's their first like console release, I'm pretty sure.
That I'm aware of, yeah.
Yeah.
So much money.
What value, I mean, what do you think Take-Two is going to like do with Zynga? Do you think they're going to do anything other than just be like, all right, all your money goes to us now?
It's got to be mobile infrastructure. Or
yeah.
I'm thinking it's probably less of like IP acquisitions, but more of like the infrastructure of mobile games, maybe a consolidated like achievements or currency. Maybe Zynga has like a currency that they use. I don't know. With Take-Two,
Zynga Bucks.
Like, yeah, named Zynga Bucks. Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
Daddy Zynga Bucks. Maybe the Grand Theft Auto 5, it being very successful in its online components, maybe they're further expanding the scope of Grand Theft Auto 6 onto other platforms, including mobile.
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
I have no idea. That's why I was asking you guys. It seemed like a very random acquisition for me, and because there have been like talks about like, hey, maybe Microsoft will buy like Take-Two or whatever, and it's like that's obviously never going to happen. They're priming themselves to be one of the main players, right? Which they already were. So I don't know. I can't see like what the end game is for this.
But yeah, I think Matt might be spot on that like Take-Two has big console and PC franchises and stuff, and then now with this, they've got their hands in all aspects of games and can maybe have cross. Like GTA mobile game and that kind of, I mean, they could have done that anyway, but like they have developers that are familiar with it and can monetize it well and that kind of thing.
I guess the Grand Theft Auto trilogy remastered was so bad that they had to go and buy Zynga to be like, you guys can do this better than our in-house team.
I'm reading, I pulled up this Forbes article on the side, and people are speculating that it's an ad network. Is because like Zynga games, they're like free to play, and they have this whole network of ads, and people spend money on that. So maybe it's just a network of advertising.
That sounds like fun.
2022.
And the NBA 2K is going to get even worse.
Yeah. So Awesome Games Done Quick just ended. Every year there's Games Done Quick, which is the speed running event where they raise money for charity and have like a week long just nonstop speed running of games happens. We usually like to talk about it, but we forgot to mention it last week. But GDQs are always worth checking out, right? Did anybody catch anything they particularly liked at this Awesome Games Done Quick event?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some cool shit. I mean, they always do like Monkey Ball is always a highlight of GDQ, just because they're like games that when you get them down, they're like really flashy technically. And it was no different this year. They did Banana Mania. So it was like I think it was like the newest game in GDQ this year. And they did a race, which was super fun to watch. So I recommend checking that one out. Seeing like all that tech for this new game was really exciting. There were a lot of cool races. There was like there was a Donkey Kong Country 2 race, which I found very entertaining, and a Sekiro blindfolded run, which is as insane as that sounds.
I know that they also broke a record of like fastest $1 million or something like that. I think they raised $1 million like within an hour or something like that of the event starting. So
I mean, it was still a few days after it started, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that it was $1 million, but it was like 3.4 million raised total, which is a shit ton. I know, like it might have been the last hour actually, because I checked in earlier on the last day, and they were at like 2.4 million or like 2.3 million. And then I like read at the end that they got to 3.4 million, and I was like, holy shit. That would be crazy if they raised all that in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. Forgive my low energy and mistakes today, everybody.
It's okay. He's got COVID.
David, thanks for recommending to me to watch the Dead Rising on AGDQ.
Oh, right.
I had so much fun watching it.
Yeah, that one was a blast. Those are really cool, like Diddy Kong Racing race as well, which was, I mean, they're all really great. And there's like a ton of great highlights, and they always clip out the clips from Twitch and upload all the speedruns to YouTube. So check them out.
Just wanted to mention that Nintendo is continuing to support Mario Kart 8 Deluxe by holding these open events later this month on January 21st through 23rd. There's going to be North American Open, where you can enter these races and theoretically win like $25 worth of gold points. But I'm sure that the people that are in this are amazing, so good luck. But it's just cool that they continue to do this, I think, for a game that's however old now.
Yeah. I don't plan on winning money if you play this. Play it for fun. My brother is probably the best Mario Kart player I know, and he has never gotten anywhere close.
I thought, speaking of like mobile games and all that earlier, this was some interesting gaming news. There's a lawsuit where the makers of the PUBG mobile game, I guess in conjunction with Tencent, because they must be, investors in the game or whatever, won a lawsuit against hackers who had made some like cheats for the game, right? Like, I don't know exactly how the cheats worked or what have you. So they must have been able to sue them because they must have been sold, or I don't know, like, or distributed through networks. I don't know, but there was some like like cheat software that they had made, and they won some gigantic lawsuit against these people that were, I guess, distributing or made this software, and like had to like share how they had made it and that kind of stuff too with them. I guess this is good. I just think it's like $10 million. In this lawsuit and damages.
Where's that number come from? Is that like lost revenue from people buying upgrades and shit?
That's a good, like not like wanting to throw out the game because it's not fair or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or because they just messed with their, I don't know. We'd have to like track down the lawsuit and that kind of thing. Which I don't have in front of me.
Let's do that just real quick.
Right, give me 30 minutes to do some research. Y'all, we'll just pause for 30 minutes.
Hold on. Patrick has to go take the bar.
You're a paralegal. Can you just like wrap it up real quick?
Again, give me 30 minutes and I'll figure it out.
30 minutes. You got
I don't know
30 seconds.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, and if somebody does want to do a deep dive, I'd be curious to know more about it. But just different kind of lawsuit gaming news that I thought was interesting.
Congratulations, Tencent.
Yeah, you won your money.
You got about 2 pennies for your pocket.
This news came out this past week, though. Apparently, it's from 2017, I guess. But for some reason, the information about this has gone public. But some LAPD officers had been fired for ignoring like the instructions to go to a robbery and instead going to catch Pokemon on Pokemon Go.
A Snorlax specifically, right?
Yeah. I don't remember. Yeah, you're right. Snorlax. I was looking at this article right now.
Fucking pigs.
Kind of funny, right? I guess 2017 wasn't the height.
That was my thought too. I'm like, pretty sure we were mostly done playing this by 2017. This was summer of 2016. We were all playing Pokemon Go.
They were still hanging on.
Well, I mean, you can kind of imagine that like cops, that would be a pretty popular game with cops. They're going all over the place. They know the town inside out. They got a lot of downtime at traffic stops and whatnot. Just tax dollars well spent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That happened.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they got fired.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right.
That's really like the threshold is very strange for what gets you fired as a cop and what doesn't. So
exactly, right? Yeah. Yes, that's upsetting, the LAPD.
The unfortunate news is we don't know if they actually got the Snorlax.
No, actually, they didn't even get fired. They just got transferred to the Kanto region. Working.
Oh boy. While we're talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus, however you want to say it, is fine with me.
It's Arceus, but yeah.
Put out a meaty gameplay preview video. The Pokemon Company did. It's like 13 something minutes long. I actually have not had a chance to watch this whole thing, just kind of scrolled through it. But I guess this is kind of one of the big final push things, right? Because the game's coming out on the 28th, I believe. Mm-hmm. So we're like a week out, a little more than a week out from this release. So I don't know if this is sort of the big thing or if we'll see anything else. What do y'all think? Or anybody had a chance to watch this video? Or
yeah, I watched most of it. And it's this is really like kind of the gameplay reveal in a way. Like, I mean, we've seen some stuff, but this is like the longest uncut look at the gameplay that we've really seen. They kind of do the whole deep dive into the game's mechanics and kind of what you'll be doing and all these, this is like what you would see, what would be in like a Pokemon Presents leading up to the game. But I guess they didn't quite have enough else ready from the Pokemon company to do.
Pokemon Sleep is still not
done, Pokemon Sleep is still getting fine-tuned. Yeah. It's
still
more
asleep.
Z's. Yeah, needs to count a couple more sheep before it can be ready to go. Or what's the sheep? Wooloo. Anyway, I think it's looking pretty good. It's gotten some backlash, which is not surprising from Pokemon fans on the graphics of the game, which admittedly are not up to standard. The game is really looking like a Pokemon Monster Hunter game, but it's like kind of tough to swallow with Monster Hunter Rise having come out last year, looking, like one of the best looking games on the Switch. It's just kind of like it's tough to like compare yourself to that game when that game is so gorgeous. You know what I mean? But I don't know. You guys, I just kind of wanted to check in. Are you guys still planning on playing this game?
Yeah,
I'm gonna play it.
I'll play it.
We sound really enthusiastic here, guys.
I think we're all cautious. Cautious is the word I'm looking for.
I'm not sure, y'all. I mean, I'll check it out, but especially if one of y'all buys it.
Matt, I think you just said that you're buying the copy of this game.
Because I don't know.
I did not say that. I said I'm cautious. I didn't. That does not mean I'm going to spend money on it. But whatever. We're doing it.
Maybe we'll split a copy. That's my concern. Is I'm not sure. Yeah. But yeah.
Gotta wait for reviews on this one.
That's what everyone's saying. Our Discord, everyone in our Discord have been like, I'm excited. This has got me excited. I'm hyped about it. I'm going to wait for reviews too.
It's like potentially the best Pokemon game ever. Maybe. Or like in terms of, am I being dumb here? Like 3D and moving
no, you're not being dumb. It's just
but
like
everybody's is like afraid of Pokemon.
Yeah, totally. It's like it could be the best Pokemon ever because it's what everybody has wanted forever, right? It's like an open world Pokemon, the Breath of the Wild of Pokemon, right? We've been talking about this shit since Breath of the Wild came out, right? But it also like looks kind of boring, so I'm like, it looks fun theoretically, right? But I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, where's the like gameplay loop really? And then I'm trying to also think like before Breath of the Wild came out, what looked like super revolutionary about that game and like what's missing from this that wasn't in that. I can't really put my finger on what it is. And so I think that's where a lot of that uncertainty lies. We'll see. I hope it's good. I like the strong and agile style addition to the actual battles. Like that adds just like kind of a whole extra layer of strategy to battles, which I think is great. I think the Pokemon turn-based battles, that's what I like about Pokemon. I like the battling system, but it is like old hat at this point. It's kind of been the same pretty much forever, adding Z moves or whatever notwithstanding. So it's like adding that seems like a cool addition. I hope the traversal is as fun as they're saying it is.
Our next bit of news is about the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is Valve's handheld device that is coming out sometime this year. And there was a developer who has had their hands on a Steam Deck who leaked some of their opinions and some facts about it. So that's been interesting. According to this one developer, which, this is a leak, who knows if it's also kind of somewhat their experience and opinions with probably an early version of it. According to them, the battery life is somewhere between 2 and 5 hours. And they were asked if you can pause a game like you can on the Switch and then just resume it. And apparently that's a feature that's being worked on. And they asked this question, which I think is interesting, if it's how it feels compared to the Switch. And the person answered that it's more comfortable than the Switch, somewhat because of the weight distribution and the balance of it and that sort of thing.
Built-in grips. wider,
like button placement. So we'll see if that's everybody's experience or just this person's. Also, apparently they believe that part of the reason it was delayed is because of the OS needing work, not just shortage of parts. Who knows? But also, I think that if you have pre-ordered one, it's my understanding you can like get a slight update on your availability window by going to the either the Steam app or the Steam webpage for the Steam Deck and like looking at it there, and it'll tell you allegedly when mine still says like Q2.
Yeah, me too.
Was said. So
yeah,
I don't know if that really.
They're supposed to start shipping out next month, February.
I saw that.
And
yeah.
I think they said they're still on track for that too. So we still feeling good about this as well. I mean, are you guys still planning on once you get your point in line?
What if I can play Matt buys it and I can play his. Let's just split one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll download your copy of Steam Deck from the eShop onto your account on my Switch.
All right. Yeah. Let's go super meta. Let's buy a Steam Deck and then get the Switch emulator to play Pokemon Arceus.
I mean, I'm sure that'll be like day one. Like people will figure that out. I'm definitely getting this. I'm very excited for this. I've always wanted a handheld PC. I've always like one of my favorite. I love handheld systems. I love the kind of like current Chinese retro handheld emulator market. I've got one of those as well that I love. I've always wanted a handheld PC just because I have a dearth of Steam games that I'd love to play on the go or just in a more convenient factor than booting up my old ass PC that I currently have. But they're always just so prohibitively expensive. This is like half the price, if not like a quarter of the price of most of the other stuff you'll find on the market. So this is a no-brainer for me. I can't wait for it to come out. I'm totally happy being an early adopter on this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it in theory. I'm not getting one of those ones that's shipping out soon, so I guess I'll have a little bit of, time to hear about it and cancel it. But I'm also like, I don't really have the money like sitting around right now, so I'm like, I need to scare up $500. So that might be a problem.
Just sell one of your 3 Switches, Patrick.
No.
You want it all, Patrick.
Yeah.
I want all the handhelds.
I also wouldn't doubt that anything this leaker said is untrue, or I wouldn't doubt that it's true. I'm not sure what I would say there, but I feel like every game dev out there right now that wanted a Steam Deck got a Steam Deck early, and they all have them right now, and they're all pretty much saying the same thing, that like they're excellent to use, their games run flawlessly, the battery life is so about comparable to the first round of the Switch, and that they're that stuff is still being worked on, right? So I wouldn't be surprised about any of that. And even if it doesn't like resume right off the bat, like that sucks, but I'm sure they'll figure it out at some point.
And then I wanted to make sure we talked about this next bit of news, mostly so that we can talk about Wordle. Because Wordle is a big game that has kind of taken over the internet recently over the last several weeks, 2 months.
Can someone explain this to me? I'm on Twitter.
Sure.
You haven't played Wordle yet?
No. I've avoided it for this very reason, so I could ask all of you experts.
It's Wheel of Fortune for millennials, basically.
I'm a millennial.
It's a word game very similar to the Jumble, if you've ever done the Jumble from the newspaper or they now are online. It's sort of a mix of Hangman meets Jumble. Like you have,
but you can use Wheel of Fortune strats.
Yes, which like you can use like what's the most common letters, because you have a set of five. They're all 5-letter words, and you're trying to guess it within 5 turns. I believe it is 6 turns.
Got it. Okay.
And I'm addicted to it.
All of you are experts on Wordle.
It's a super simple game. Like you play it once, you'll get it. Yeah. And I play it every day now because I'm a huge fan of the Jumble. I used to do the Jumble every day competitively with people I used to work with, like to see who could get the fastest time.
That's
so like
cool.
word scrambles are like I like word games a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, Wordle is really popular. It's taken over, and it's inspired a lot of copycat games that people have been putting up on like app stores and stuff like that. And there was a big one in the news where some guy who made a fake Wordle app that got taken down, like, had to issue an apology, and his apology was like that he had contacted the guy that made Wordle. So like the guy that made Wordle apparently just did it on a lark for his friends and like isn't trying to make money off of it and doesn't care. But like, and this guy contacted him and was like, I'll share revenue. And the guy's like, no, I don't care. And he's like, well, but I tried to talk to the guy.
Yeah, that's not how that works. I started to send you a couple DMs on Twitter. You can't sue me.
I don't really care about this news story. That sounds bad. I mean, I get it, but it's like Wordle itself is not anything that original, you know what I mean? And it's like not anything he's making money off of, right?
Well, this is an interesting thing to talk about then, right? Because like, what is a copycat game versus what's an game inspired by something, right? And like, I think there's a lot of mobile copycat games where they literally take the exact same game and just grab it and slap it a new paint a code on it, coat of paint on it, and then just put it on an app store, right? Versus like something iterating on an idea. And I think Wordle is iterating on an idea, but also like you said, and even if it's not, if somebody made a very similar game, they're not trying to make money off of it. But I think so. That's where it gets interesting to me. Is like, I think just stealing game ideas is bad.
I guess they just called the app Wordle, right? Like it was just like taking the name.
I don't know, but I think there's been a bunch of calling it that copycats that have been taken down.
There's a documentary filmmaker, Kirby Ferguson. He has a whole video series called Everything is a Remix, where he talks about like how people are inspired from other pieces of media. And he draws the line of the difference between a derivative and like a blatant copy is whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's
but
fair.
I do. Yeah. And like how popular something gets. And
I think because Wordle's sort of been spreading by word of mouth, like you have a friend who's been playing it, or you see somebody post like the little squares on Twitter. What's that? And I was telling my mom about it, and her instinct was to go to the app store. It's like, oh, is it an app? And I'm like, no, it's just Google Wordle. So I mean, that guy was clearly capitalizing on the instinct for like, oh, clearly this is an app that everybody's playing, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
makes sense. I thought it was an app. I thought it was an app at first too. Yeah.
Yep.
News to me.
No, it's like just a browser game.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, for the record, I have been playing Wordle. I have not been posting green squares on my Twitter feed. Don't begrudge anyone who does. But I
heard it here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm okay with you posting Wordle. I just might not like your post. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's like it is a very fun game, and it's like a fun thing when you're like, you do get this little rush, like when you're like, oh fuck, it's after midnight. There's a new Wordle. You know what I mean? And then you go and try to figure it out. Yeah, so I'm enjoying it. I hope if he does decide to monetize it in some way, obviously I hope he gets what's due, and he doesn't get fucked over. But in the meantime, I think it's just kind of like a Twitter fad right now. I think it's okay if some copycat clones go up on this one personally.
David is okay with stealing ideas.
I'm okay with intellectual
but not
property
posting
theft.
your Wordle.
Yeah. No, look, you can post your Wordle. I'm just not going to participate in that.
So what do you think about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl?
I think it should be taken down for copyright.
That's fair.
Well, that's a great segue into our Super Smash Brothers Ultimate news here. So, after Sora came out as the last fighter, it was announced that was the final update to the game, and there wasn't going to be any more like new content added. And you could argue that this isn't really new content, but there is a non-recycled spirit event that is happening, like a new spirit event, a new Street Fighter 35th anniversary of spirit event, which I think maybe even has a new spirit, the like evil Ryu spirit. So that's interesting. I don't think that means anything about more content coming to Smash. It's just
Fighter Pack 3 incoming.
They were lying. Never believe anything anyone at Nintendo says ever again.
Done.
Proof. But that's kind of a cool thing that happened. So, and then, our last bit of news for the week is going to take us into our main topic. And so maybe we won't talk too much about speculation, but we can just talk about the reactions to the new Kirby trailer that just came out, the Forgotten Land, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. They released finally some more information about the game. I think the only thing that had come out previously in the Direct was just kind of a non-talking trailer that just showed a little bit of gameplay. But here they kind of explain a little bit more, show off co-op, among other things, and gave us a release date, right? March 25th. So almost just 2 months, a little more than 2 months from now. So
nailed it in the 2022 predictions video, by the way.
We said late March.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you want to save it and talk about that later, or is there anything in terms of that trailer that y'all want to talk about now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth talking about reactions and kind of a little bit of what this game looks like it's going to be here, because there was kind of question over what is this game going to be like, other than the fact that it's 3D. And to be honest, that's kind of what it seems like straight up it's going to be, is just like a
Kirby
3D version of a Kirby game, right? Like you've got little hub areas, it looks like, but it looks to be a level based game and not like an open world sort of thing, like had been some of the speculation.
Right.
Which I think is good. I think it's better to probably focus on the actual game feel, playing or how working with a 3D camera in a Kirby game is going to work, like rather than just like cracking everything wide open and making like a Breath of the Wild Kirby game, right? So it's like I think it's looking pretty great. I'm excited to see that. It's also going to have co-op, looks like.
Yeah, the co-op is the big one for me. This made this game go way up for me because, as we'll talk about soon, Kirby games are okay but easy. But playing a game with I don't know. we'll have that argument in 10 minutes. But I enjoy them for what they are. But this is going to be super fun to play with my kid. And it showed off some mini games. So there'll be, and that sort of, like you said, there's what looks to be sort of a hub area of a town kind of, where there's some online component maybe with what's popular in the game. I don't know. It's hard to tell what that'll be, but I'm excited about it more than ever after this, just because the co-op mostly.
Me too. I think it looks really fun. I don't think it has to be a Breath of the Wild, an open world, or I like to call it Inhale of the Wild. I'll let that one sit. That one's for all of y'all out there.
Very good.
I like that it's going to be simple and it's going to have a hub world. Reminds me of 3D World.
I agree with everyone. I'm going to pick it up day one. I like Kirby games, and I haven't played a new one in longer than I realized. So that's good.
The way that we're talking about Kirby is vastly different than the way that we're talking about Pokemon Arceus. Just in its presentation, in its gameplay, it's just the overall feeling on the conversation. It's Kirby, which is not as big as a franchise or as a media blitz as Pokemon. Maybe it gets us more excited about Pokemon. I don't know.
Dude, the graphics actually look good in this game too. I mean, not that that's everything, but it's like the game looks like it has so much polish already. I mean, I'm not saying Arceus doesn't necessarily, but it's like that's the conversation right now, right? Is why is the biggest franchise in the world skimping? When everybody else, I don't know.
This game looks super bright and colorful and has great graphics, and
every Kirby game.
And even though Pokemon is arguably easy and simple too, but Kirby's easy and simple in a way that doesn't involve menus and turn-based battles.
Yeah. But they have 150 creatures to animate. Man, it's so hard.
I only bring that up is because these are going to be two large games coming from Nintendo. They're publishing them and developing them in some cases. It's just interesting that we have two different angles to look at these two different games from a giant company such as Nintendo.
That's actually a good kind of maybe thing just to think about is just like Nintendo's got a pretty strong fucking start to the year, right? I mean, the first ever 3D Kirby game is a pretty big fucking deal. The first ever like truly open world Pokemon game is a pretty big fucking deal. Very interested to see if, I mean, we've got some other big games coming. I think Horizon's in February, right? For Vinland. So there's the other players are also going to have some big releases. So it'll be interesting to see how Nintendo stacks with such a powerhouse start to the year.
I have more thoughts, but maybe we should wait to the episode.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Well, we're not done talking about Kirby. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk all about the old Kirby games and sort of the history of it and the lore, and also maybe a little bit more about this new one and what we're excited for that after this short break. All right, we're back. And this week we're talking all about Kirby.
Hi.
That's pretty good.
That was all right. Hi.
Hi. Kirby has been around since the early 90s. There's been over 35 games, I think. I tried to count. It depends on how you count them, but definitely a ton of Kirby games in the intervening years. And we've got this new one coming out. So we thought we'd talk about Kirby, just sort of a big, broad overview of the franchise. So I think it'd be fun to start with what the hell is a Kirby? Like what it, like Kirby is this pink.
It's a male Jigglypuff. Everybody knows that.
So like, what do y'all think Kirby is? Like, just like a regular,
Kirby's a god.
A god. I think that's right, actually.
I think that's what we learned today.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I did not know that before today.
Well, I don't know. It's friend of the show, Austin Young, says Kirby's a baby god. Discussing this, which I actually think is a great, thing to put forward about. Kirby. Feels right.
Technically, in the lore of the Kirby universe, which there is a lore.
Yeah.
Kirby is like a reincarnated form of the god of all creation of the universe.
He's like a pink Jesus.
Yeah. But he but is birthed of like positive emotions and good feelings, right? Like friendship.
Yeah, so like Kirby exists on planet Popstar.
Yeah.
As it's known, and lives in like the region of planet Popstar known as Dreamland. And I guess there's a bunch of beings there, right? Like, so that are normal beings, but in all the games, like to get into the lore and stuff, like you kind of progress through the game and then you kill like some mega being at the end, right?
Which usually in and of themselves are also a reincarnation of God.
Yeah. The lore of these games, which there is, and I don't know a ton about it. In prep for this episode, I read and listened to things, and it is crazy shit. Like for what is arguably like the other. So also, what is Kirby? Kirby is like the accessible, easy platformer for kids, and you kill God.
Finally, I've always
like
wanted
Jesus.
to know.
That's what happens in the Bible, right? Jesus kills God. Isn't that what happens? I didn't finish it, so
I didn't get to the end.
I like the sequel, The Book of Mormon, better.
When God comes to America.
But like, I don't know. We can kind of touch on the lore or whatever to the extent that y'all want to. There's like all kinds of stuff from, there's been so many games too that adds to it. But the first Kirby game was Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy in '92. And all the Kirby games, I think, or most of them are made by HAL, right? And Sakurai, Masahiro Sakurai, well known for Smash, is the creator of the first Kirby, or the concept of Kirby or the character, right? For that first game, and has stated that they wanted to make like a simple, easy game for people who were new to like that style of action platforming. So they're all Kirby games are arguably easy, right? With maybe unlockable hard modes and that kind of thing, and extra challenges once you beat them. But the very nature of it, right, is that like platforming is made easy by Kirby's ability to repeatedly float jump. And so those are, I don't know. I'm rambling. Anybody want to jump in and take anything about sort of a big picture Kirby stuff that I've left out?
Well, Rachel, you Kirby's Adventure for the Game Boy was your first Kirby game, right? Like you've been playing it since the beginning. Is
Kirby's
that right?
Okay,
Dreamland.
so yeah, Kirby's Dreamland.
Right.
I think like my cousin gave it to me or something, and I had it on the original Game Boy, and that was so I must have been like 5 or 6 playing it. It was super simple, and this was Kirby didn't even have like the copying ability that he's known for,
right?
And somebody's gonna have to help me out because I'm looking at this list of Kirby games, and it is. First of all, there's like no consistency in the way that they name them.
Right.
Yeah.
So they did remake Kirby's Adventure, I think, but it was maybe Nightmare in Dreamland.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Nightmare in Dreamland was a GBA remake of the NES game. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So Kirby's Adventure is on NSO right now. That's the second Kirby game.
Correct.
And I've been playing that, and I'm like, no, I've played this before because it was Nightmare in Dreamland on the GBA X amount of years ago.
And that's the one where they introduced copyability, the second Kirby game, Kirby's Adventure.
And the first game where he's pink also. On the box art.
There was
Hey, he was pink, they just couldn't show it.
Well, no, even I mean if you look at the box art for Kirby's Dreamland for the Game Boy, he's a white puff. They hadn't really nailed that part down yet.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But Kirby's Adventure, though, for the NES, I think is like, top 5 NES games.
It's super fun.
For
it's
sure.
It's a really good game.
Yeah. I think it's like the best looking game on the NES. I think it's like they nailed the aesthetic for Kirby like right off the jump, right? And and that it's like super colorful. It's like super pleasant. It runs great. It's just like as far as NES games that have aged really well, I would say like it's probably the NES game that has aged the best, even including like Mario Brothers 3, like which was really pushing. I mean, no, Mario Brothers 3, of course, has aged wonderfully, but it's like was pushing the hardware to its limit, right? Like the scroll.
You just mean like the sprites and stuff kind of
just technically speaking,
Mario
right?
3. That's true.
Yeah, it's like Mario 3 potentially has like the best gameplay of any NES game, but it's like Kirby's Adventure like could have come out, I feel like, the other day. It's like it looks really similar to modern pixel art games and like kind of kawaii look. It holds up really, really well. Still very fun to play on NSO.
Yeah. Like Rachel, you said that the naming conventions are all over the place, because sort of the mainline games you think would be the Kirby's Dreamland, but then they had Kirby's Adventure, and then there's just so many intervening spin-off games, right? So like we had Kirby's Dreamland for the Game Boy, Kirby's Adventure for the NES, and then they started cranking out Pinball and the Dream Course game, which is another game that's on NSO, the sort of mini golf like Kirby game.
Amazing game,
which is all right.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah,
but it's very hard. But on NSO, you at least have rewind features.
It's like a deep, like the actual like mechanics of Kirby's.
You got to put some time into it.
Yeah. There's a lot to really uncover, but it's like once you actually play that with other people, like I played that with Cena kind of recently over the internet on our Switches, and I don't know, I sounded like I was 50 years old.
You connect it to the
we played it over our 56K
frame.
modems, and no, but it's like that game is like super, super fun to play with people. In fact, I think all of the Kirby games that support co-op or multiplayer like are more fun played with other people for my money. Yeah.
And I love Kirby's Dream Course. It's just such a David, you just said it's a complex game. Like the mechanics are deep and you get power-ups and you have to use the power-ups at a particular time in order to get the equivalent of a hole-in-one. Man, it's a good game.
There's a lot to it. Yeah.
It's hard. Like
it's got that like Sonic 3D Blast aesthetic, which I'm a big fan of.
The graphics in it are pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kirby's. I've never played Kirby's Dream Land 2, but 3 is also on NSO, and I think the graphics for that look really great. It's a Super Nintendo game as well, and I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some of the earlier ones I think actually had maybe Kirby's Dream Land 2 introduced like rideable characters, but there's also that in 3, I think, where you can like use your animal friends or whatever.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was probably introduced in Dreamland 2, and I booted up 3 last night on NSO. Was that the introduction of Gooey? Because I don't think I'd ever played a game with Gooey before. He is crazy.
Yeah, Gooey fucks.
Running around with you. Gooey's like awesome. But yeah, there was something changed in Dreamland 3 with Gooey, and then adding the animals. And you're right, it might have been Dreamland 2, but now I can't remember because they all sound like the same game to me.
Yeah. Well, Dreamland 3 also had that like really great aesthetic that was kind of like, right?
It's kind of it reminds me of like watercolor.
Yeah.
Like the colors are a lot softer. It doesn't pop as much. It's more like pastel so far. It's really pretty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it reminds me of like Yoshi's Island in a way, like the way that they kind of like did their own thing graphically with that. Yeah.
And we've said this already, but like there's different games, and so the different Kirby games have lots of different kinds of gameplay, but the sort of core 2D games, going back to even just like the second game, Kirby's Adventure, we have that copy ability. They all have that. I mean, it's kind of like Mario, right? Or Donkey Kong Country or something. That's like the same core gameplay that has, been mostly the same with maybe some slight tweaks each game. I played Kirby Star Allies, and then I've gone back and played some of these old games on the NSO, and they feel very similar. And that's good and bad, I think. Like I don't have a problem with that. I think it's good gameplay, updated graphics, new mechanics added in here and there.
Yeah, Kirby has like historically just been a 2D. That's why like this 3D Kirby game is such a huge deal. It's like Kirby has always been the go-to. It's like you always know it's pretty much going to be a 2D game up until this point. And so it's like what's interesting about the franchise is that it's like led to a lot of, and that's why there are so many games. It's a franchise that Nintendo really just throws a lot of brand new ideas on. So while yes, they do kind of all fundamentally all the mainline ones anyway, like have very similar gameplay. It'll also be like every time it's like, oh, but in this one you can control 10 Kirby's, or it's like,
or like the yarn one or whatever, like where you're like,
right.
I don't know.
Well, the yarn one, the Kirby's Epic Yarn, I think it's like, in my opinion, the best Kirby game. And it's like arguably also the easiest and the least challenging, right? Like in Kirby's Epic Yarn, it was a Wii game. And then also later re-released on the 3DS. Kirby's Epic Yarn, like you can't die in it. It's like impossible to die. And so the game becomes the measure of your medal in that game is all about collectibles, getting all your shit done. And then also, of course, just like this beautiful aesthetic to the game. I think Kirby's Epic Yarn is one of the best looking Wii games out there. And it like kind of, the whole like Yoshi crafted aesthetic kind of owes a lot to Epic Yarn. And the kind of way that the Yoshi games look these days. But yeah, if you ever have a chance to like play Epic Yarn either on 3DS or on the Wii, it's a very, very fun game and an excellent game to play in co-op as well.
David, you briefly mentioned that Kirby is the brand that Nintendo uses to throw at different types of games. And Kirby's Epic Yarn is one of them because it wasn't originally, my understanding, it wasn't originally supposed to be a Kirby game. Like the blueprints that we see in it, like Prince Fluff, it's F something, I don't remember his name. That was supposed to be the main character, but it turned into a Kirby game.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I know that technically the one that's coming up, whose name I'm Forgotten Land, right, is the first official 3D game. But I know there have been a few like quasi 3D games leading up to this, like the Kirby 64 game, which is going to be coming out on NSO as well at some point. We don't know when. But none of the 3D like isn't. I've never played Kirby's Air Ride. Isn't that sort of 3D as well? No.
Yeah,
Yes.
3D. Kirby is a 3D game. Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's also kind of like a racing game,
Racing
sort
right,
of.
like a
Yeah.
spin-off
Yeah.
game.
It's you can't really count that in the main line, but if you want to get technical, then yeah, it's technically the first 3D game, but you're like always on a star or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We've kind of jumped all over the place. There's a bunch of. Are there any games or one thing we could talk about too is characters. Anything that you really, any of the ones that we haven't mentioned that mean a lot to you or that you enjoyed playing. You mentioned Epic Yarn as being a big one.
I'll shout out to Kirby Tilt and Tumble on the Game Boy
Yes.
Advance.
let's
That
go.
was so much fun. You would tilt your Game Boy and make him roll around the screen
Oh.
because there was a mechanism in the cartridge for that, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
That was such a fun game. I don't think I'd ever played one like that before.
Yeah, that has to be some of the earliest use of that technology in a
game. Let me see. A game came out in 2000. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it predates WarioWare Twisted, which was kind of like Nintendo's next built-in cartridge accelerometer game, right? Yeah, and it worked really, really well, and it's almost like motion controls almost work better when you're constrained to something like the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy Advance, where it kind of has to be more simple. So it's like your inputs become a lot more precise. There's like less room for like fucking about and flailing around that you would get in like Wii era games, right?
From just looking online about that game, it looks like this is another situation where it started development as a different character and then was swapped in to be Kirby.
Dropped Kirby on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm glad they did, because I grabbed it because it was Kirby and I was a kid and I loved Kirby.
That's the power of brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, brand ambassador Matt Stone over here. But no, I think that I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a ton of Kirby games got their start that way, and that's why there are so many, right? It's like Nintendo R&D are always looking at like new input methods, new technologies, new gimmicky gameplay, whatever, right? And then if they come up with something really cool, they're going to be like, hey, this is awesome, but we're never going to, we're taking a risk on this technology and we're never going to sell this if it's an unknown IP. So just slap Kirby on it, right? Like some other ones that come to mind are like, what's the one where you draw like a path for it?
Curse,
it was like
curse something.
Yeah,
Rainbow Curse?
Canvas Curse. Yeah. And there was also one for the Wii U as well. It was like a DS game, and then there was like a Wii U version as well, where you're basically like drawing. It's kind of like that game Line Rider. You guys ever play that, like for the computer back in the day? It's like you would kind of like draw the path for the character to roll down, and you weren't actually controlling Kirby himself or itself, themselves. I don't know the gender of Kirby, but it's like very much. A very unique style of gameplay, which was also very fun. But again, a game I probably would have never played had it not been a Kirby game. Yeah.
There's been a lot of Kirby puzzle games as well, like Puyo Puyo Kirby or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you can do when you have the power of a god. You can just enter a world such as Canvas Curse or a 3D world or a 2D world or a fucking golf course. You're a god. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Well, like we talked about Gooey, but maybe we should talk about some of the other major characters from Kirby, like Wispy Woods, King Dedede, Meta Knight. Those are all characters who have become well known as well from the Kirby franchise. And I think what's great and interesting about a lot of those characters, and probably a lot of Kirby characters, is that they're kind of the villains of the games, but then it turns out usually that they're like possessed by an evil thing, and so they're actually Kirby's friend at the, you know what I mean, like they're the first boss or whatever, and then you knock the
and then you go and
out.
Kill God, yeah,
and then you kill God.
Yeah.
Who possessed them. Like there's the theme of King Dedede stealing all the food, right? It's in multiple games, hoarding all the food, and Kirby has to go and knock the possession out of them so they'll share.
Boxing too with Dedede is a common theme. He's like a prodigious boxer.
He's ripped.
Yeah, he's a big guy. Although I think Kirby also canonically is about this big. It's like, yeah, if you like look up Kirby's height on Wikipedia,
the known Kirby expert.
If you Google Kirby's net worth,
it's 12.7 billion, just like Zynga.
Yeah, right. No, but he's a very small man, so DDD is like only about this big, I suppose. But the Kirby universe is just a very small planet, right?
Tiny planet pop star.
Yeah. But yeah, like DDD is definitely major one. What I'm trying to remember the name of that one. Is it Max? Who is was a boss in one of the Smash games?
Marks?
Yeah, Marks, excuse me. You can tell we're super Kirby.
The well-known labor.
Yeah. Marks is like Marks is a character that like that's another theme in Kirby games basically, is like enemies that start off looking really cutesy and then have transformations into like an Eldritch horror.
Yes, like Cthulhu level such a cute, fun, happy, kid-friendly game that has tentacles coming out of the last enemy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those are definitely some good characters. Banana Waddle Dee, we'd be remiss if we didn't. Excuse me, not Banana Waddle Dee. Bandana Waddle Dee. I was thinking of the Waddle Dee from the Donkey Kong Country franchise. No, Bandana Waddle Dee and just Waddle Dees in general are great characters. That's kind of a fun thing about Kirby games is like there's all these like enemies you can take in and take their copy abilities, and there's a bunch of just normies.
Yeah, the copy ability. Maybe we should talk more about the copy ability. I think that's an interesting gameplay mechanic, right? That like instead of like picking up an item and transforming, that you have this choice of how to beat it, because it's not just what item is given to you. You can, inhale whichever enemy and master that ability. Not that the game's super challenging. You can typically do it, but then there are puzzle elements sometimes where you need to get the right copy ability and that sort of thing too, right? Maybe we'll see more of that with this 3D one. It kind of looks like it, where they're pushing buttons and things are moving around. But
when I was playing Dreamland 3 last night, that was something I noticed, Patrick, was just that they start to push towards like, hey, I mean, you can run through, right? You can float through all the courses and you can like beat the game. But they start to push like, well, if you decide to go back and get that ability, then you can get into this extra area because here's a little stone that's marked like you need the fire ability or whatever to do it. And you have that choice. Also, great thing about Kirby is the fact that as soon as you move on in the screen, all of the enemies respawn. So if you're like, oh no, I need that rock ability and I missed it, you can just go back and go get it. Like, awesome feature, so simple. But yeah, to your point, you can play the puzzles or you cannot play the puzzles and you can still beat the game.
Yeah. Which I think is to what Matt was maybe going to say next too, right?
Yeah, very similar. Just like thinking through the mechanics of the copy ability. I'm thinking of like other platform games of this type. You have like a Mario, which you hit a block and get a power up, or if you like you're playing a Mega Man, you beat a boss and get a power up. In Kirby games, like power ups are everywhere. You get the choice, and so the nature of it being so accessible that you can just choose. It's not like really difficult. You don't have to beat a boss or have like an RNG in some of the Super Mario Brothers 3 by getting a certain star power up. There's just these power ups are kind of everywhere, so it allows you to change up your gameplay to have more fun.
Yeah, and you can just float over a level too, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Especially if you're young and maybe new to platforming, it's such a great introductory game, any of them, right? For that reason. And also, or if they want to challenge themselves and they get damaged, but they still want to beat the level, you can then just start floating over it or whatever.
And what I loved in Crystal Shards as well for the N64, which is a really great Kirby game. The ability, and this is in a couple Kirby games actually, but the ability to like mix copy abilities as well. Like taking your fire ability and throwing it into a blade, and then now you have a fire blade. So it kind of just like really increases the variety of the game, and it makes like replaying really fun because you can try out different stuff throughout it.
Yeah, Star Allies, the most recent one, has that where you can have 4 people on your team, and you can theoretically play 4-player, or you can just have 3 computer friends, or not, to make it more challenging for yourself, quote unquote challenging or whatever. But yeah, like you can have an ice character and a sword character, and they can just slap themselves together until they have a nice sword. Yeah,
love that.
Or whatever. And also, I don't know if this is another one's, but like in Kirby Star Allies, there's like an ability where the 4 characters turn into a train, and then you just cruise through the level or whatever. So fun.
Love that. Yeah, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, which is a really great overlooked Kirby game for the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, that was one of the ambassador games on the 3DS. If you got the 3DS early, you got a bunch of GBA games for free. And so that's the first time I played that game. I was actually playing some of that last night and preparing for this episode. That's another great one where you've also got multiple Kirbys. You got 4 Kirbys running around. You can like call them up on a little cell phone whenever you want them to show up, which is really fun. You even have bars on your cell phone, which is really funny. I also wanted to bring up that I'm pretty sure like Smash Brothers mechanics originate from Kirby as well. Obviously Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of Kirby, then went on to create Smash. But like the fighter ability that you can grab as Kirby, like his depending, it's the same attack the entire time, but like pressing up or down or side or whatever, it's like left or right are the same thing, and then up is an alternate and down is an alternate. And it very much just feels like A attacks in Smash, right? And even later Kirby games would like add charging smashes to like the fighter version as well. And there are like Kirby Fighters games that have come out since then that are based on that even more so. But I really feel like Smash took a lot from like Kirby's directional abilities, just in the way that they, use that for like A attacks and special attacks even.
Nice. Well, anything else? Any other personal anecdotes or favorites or games we didn't mention or characters before we maybe move on to maybe the new Kirby game? Or
I mean, I think we should just say the best ones to play. Like if you haven't played any Kirby games, like what do y'all think are the best? I mean, I can start with at least some of the ones that are available on Switch.
Well, yeah, maybe we could do that because or maybe we can do both things, right? Because on Switch, there's the newest Kirby game, which is Kirby Star Allies, which is okay. I've played through it, and I don't know, it's not a bad entry point, I suppose. But then on NSO, you have like 4 or 5 to pick from,
right? Which Kirby Superstar, you gotta mention Kirby Superstar for the Super Nintendo. Arguably the best Kirby game. It's very good. It's kind of like 5 smaller games all packed together, or maybe even more.
I think there's like 8. Yeah.
Okay, 8. Yeah. So there's a lot.
Whatever. Yeah.
Right. And so it's a very, very full featured game with lots of like content throughout it. There are some of those games are like more mini games, and then some are more like fully featured. But that was like a really excellent game back in the day that a lot of people would say is the best Kirby game.
And that's on NSO.
For Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Planet Robobot, we should probably bring up. Everybody kind of says that's the best. I actually almost bought that game in preparation for this episode. And then I played the demo on the 3DS, and I was like, I think I don't have to drop $40 on a 3DS game right now. Yeah, I did try to find it at a used game store that I was at, and they didn't have it, so I gave up. But
what is Planet? I've never played that one, so like what is it like?
I think it's the last 3DS Kirby game. There were a few that came out for the 3DS. There were actually like a fuck ton that came out for the 3DS if you include like little eShop games. And remakes. But Planet Robobot is like a game where there are just regular Kirby levels, but then there are also levels where you like you hop into a giant mech, and you basically are like this giant mech version of Kirby that can smash through shit, but can also still do copy abilities. So it added like a whole layer on top of it. What I played was super fun. I just was like, I don't know if I'm going to buy it just for this episode.
No.
but yeah, a lot of people say that is also one of the best Kirby games. Yeah.
Is that the one that has like tons of power-ups, and they got a bunch of like silly power-ups, like a doctor?
Maybe. Yeah. I am not sure.
I'm just
I think you're thinking of Dr. Mario World.
I'm very familiar with that game. Just
Rest in
love
peace.
the lore.
Yeah. Yeah, would you recommend playing Kirby's Dream Land, like the original?
No. No, you can't. I mean, you can't. There's no copy ability. It was so. No, don't play that. But play Kirby's Adventure on NSO.
Yeah.
That is so fun. It is such a cute game, and it's so easy to just pick up and put down. And I love. It's where I love the Kirby music. The Kirby music is so good.
Quickly, also on NSO is Kirby's Dream Course, like we talked about earlier, the mini golf one, and Kirby's Dream Land 3, which is I also think just another chill, easy going Kirby game to check out. And then Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards will be on NSO, like we mentioned, at some point, and so that'll be worth checking out probably.
And they're not all easy, by the way. I mean, like a lot of them are, but like I was playing The Amazing Mirror the other day, and I just like kept dying. You know what I mean? Like some of the bosses are like really tough. You know what I mean? And like
I think the bosses can be. It's we say it's like an easy game for kids, but I do think you get to a boss level. Not every kid who was just floating over the level is going to be able to beat a boss. Then,
right? Yeah. I mean, well, because it's like all of the bosses will always have like whether or not you have a copy ability. Like they'll usually like slam it to the ground and some stars will come out and you can suck up the star and shoot it back at them, right? So there'll always be that. And in The Amazing Mirror as well, it has like, it's kind of Metroid inspired. There's a lot of backtracking in that game, which is really interesting. It's kind of like an obtuse game. And so if you're just expecting, like I was, just a really straightforward Kirby experience, it was not that. And it handed me my ass pretty quickly because I was playing it like a standard Kirby game, you know? Yeah.
I want to say if you get a chance to play Epic Yarn, play Kirby's Epic Yarn. If you have a Wii, it's so fun. It's so enjoyable. It's so pretty.
And that's a game that I like resent the 3DS port of.
I was gonna say, but there's a 3DS one, right? You don't think it's good?
No, I mean it's fine. It's just like it's like that and Donkey Kong Country Returns were two Wii games that got 3DS ports that I'm like, these probably won't come to Switch now. You know what I mean? Like Donkey Kong Country Returns is also a great game. It's not as good as Tropical Freeze, but it's still very good. I can't see that coming to the Switch now after Tropical Freeze got ported, right? And it's like Kirby's Epic Yarn. I don't know if they're going to release that for a third time. I mean, I guess they did with Xenoblade Chronicles, but that's kind of like a more, unique use case, I suppose. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's worth playing that one on Wii. Yeah, so you can play with older people.
Well, we already talked about Kirby and the Forgotten Land a bit with the new trailer coming out. But is there anything in particular that we're hoping for with that? They said co-op. Do you think that means 2-player only? Do you think it could be more than 2 players? It looked like they only showed 2 from what I could tell, but Star Allies had 4-player co-op. Maybe this will too, or would that be too hectic for the way it looks? It's not quite as contained as 3D World is, like we compared it to. So I don't know. Probably just 2-player, right?
I think so. Yeah. It looks like 2-player to me. It looks like 2-player local to me.
Yeah, right.
I would love to be surprised by that, but I would bet on a 2-player local co-op sort of situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any, are we just hoping this is just a fun, easygoing Kirby experience, or is anybody hoping that this will have a little bit more challenge or be a little bit more have a little bit more depth or length? Or
I'm kind of hoping it has some more like Zelda-y elements, not necessarily like Breath of the Wild, but from this trailer, it kind of looked like they were, he would kind of trigger things and there was a da-da-da-da-da-da, you know what I mean? Like kind of camera moving over to like a door opening somewhere else. So like a bit more exploration focused level design, I think could be really cool. Trying to kind of figure out where to go next as opposed to just like running to the right. I think could be really cool. So again, something that Amazing Mirror did really well. I'd love to see like more of that incorporated into this 3D game.
And we see that moment where Kirby flies on the star, sort of like what I presume is the world map, and it looks like there's lots of different areas that maybe, I don't know, like it looks like a lot of them are probably like the level based aspect of it, but maybe I'm kind of hoping a reason to return to areas because it doesn't look super linear or maybe some choice about how you approach it, or that kind of thing. That would be one of my hopes, that it's not just a very like A to B game, because it kind of looks like it's not, but it could also be.
Rachel, do you have any kind of hopes or dreams for this 3D Kirby game?
Well, thinking back to, what Matt said before we took the break, thinking about this versus Pokemon, and I think the thing about Kirby is, in my head, the bar is always sort of low. Like, Kirby is Kirby and is what it is, and the games are never like they haven't grown up with us, whereas like Pokemon, you want it to be growing up with you, and you would hope that those games would mature as we did, and they haven't. But Kirby, I have zero expectation for it to be more difficult. I'm totally fine with it being easy, and I don't know. The bar is not high. Like, I'm excited for the fact that they're trying something new, and I think we've talked about that a lot this evening with they do try new things with Kirby. They're not afraid to take risks. So I'm happy to see the change, but I'm just happy to get more Kirby.
Yeah.
I think to your point too, like I don't expect it to be that different, but it does look like it has a lot of different environments and a lot of, I don't know that the gameplay is going to be super varied, but a lot of interesting moments where you see Kirby have a different hat on, and maybe he shoots like a wave gun or something like that. And so it looks like it's going to have a variety of experiences that will keep it fun and light. You know what I mean?
Kirby was always fun to look at. Like the games were always really pretty, and I think this is going to be a very pretty game and fun to look at, and they seem to be paying good attention to detail. So yeah, I agree.
I'd love if Kirby could just like shoot a gun in general.
Guess fucking what, dude?
He does in one of the trailer. Or in
yes.
But it's not like a realistic.
No, I want like a.
Usually has like a laser gun.
Yeah. Okay.
I want the guns from Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
To come into this world.
I want an AR-15 on Kirby.
There's a short segment of this newest trailer where he's got kind of an elephant gun looking thing. I mean, it's kind of like a horn looking gun, and like a Panama hat on. And
say no more, fam. I'm already pre-ordering.
He's Kirby owns a house and he's practicing castle law.
Whoa. It's a Kirby management game.
There does also appear to be this little blue pixie, I don't know what kind of creature that seems to be your like Navi or something, or
very cute.
Your like companion, non-playable guide that maybe you're rescuing or helping or something. We'll find out, but that seems to be an important part of the game.
I think kind of zooming out from like the new Kirby game and thinking about Kirby as a brand as a whole, I think it's an interesting like reward for owning a Nintendo console, because Kirby games, the mainline games, come typically near the end of a console lifespan. Like Superstars came out while like within the first year of the N64 and was one of the last Nintendo SNES games. And same thing with Crystal Shards. It came out a year before the GameCube. The GameCube was already announced, and we have a new 3D Kirby game, and it looks great. It's going to be really, looks really fun, but it's coming out. How many years are we into the Switch life cycle? 5. We'll be 5 years in. We have a brand new Kirby game. This is a pattern that Nintendo uses to push more software sales in an existing hardware user base. Makes sense.
My main hope for like the series as a whole, and really for this game in particular, is that they take a bit of a playbook from these more modern 3D Mario games, where it's like the game's like not super hard. Like Odyssey was not a hard game, and then you beat it, and then it got like fucking hard. There was like all the optional shit that's like pretty hard. There's like all this end game shit. And I know Kirby's done a little bit of that in the past, but I'd really love
just like
to
a
see
boss
like
rush or something. Sorry,
right. Yeah, we'll get to this in a second, but I've been playing a little bit of Toad's Treasure Tracker now that it's been in the free version. And it's like that game like starts off pretty fucking easy and then like gets pretty fucking hard like quickly. You know what I mean? As soon as like the new books come in, and it's like, and I would love to see it's like you beat the game, it's kind of a breeze, it's not too hard, and then you go back and it's almost like New Game Plus or whatever, and it's like all these extra hidden things and the levels kind of change. Demon Turf is kind of like that too, like you beat the levels and then they get way harder. I think that would be a really good way to keep gamers that are like the hardcore gamer crowd that know Kirby and love Kirby, but they're like, I don't know if I want to play another easy Kirby game. That would be a great way to bring some of them back in. So I hope that they do that with this new game.
I bet you they do. I mean, I don't want to get our hopes up for something that isn't a guarantee, but I think the way that the game looks with that sort of overworld thing, and I think there could be a similar element. I hope so, because I
hope so
that
too.
Would be great.
Yeah.
Well, any other final thoughts before we move on Kirby in general? Or
who's gonna buy it?
Oh, I will buy this.
I'll probably get this game. I'll probably get this game. Yeah. Matt, you get Pokemon. We'll all get Kirby.
Okay. It's a deal.
Well, cool. I think that does it for our talk on Kirby then. We'd love to hear what your favorite Kirby game is, or character, or any moments that we didn't get to talk about. Please let us know.
And let us know if you have a good Kirby impression. You can top David's.
That's a tall order. That's a tall order.
And we'll take another short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the games we've been playing recently. I've been playing more Shin Megami Tensei 5. We just put out a new Optimal Fusion episode, so I won't talk about that here, but check that out. And I have been playing more Labo. There are a handful of Labo things we never built that here we're stuck at home looking for something new to do. We built the fishing rod and the motorcycle thing. And my son is old enough now that we had like fun doing that. It wasn't just me doing the cardboard part and him being like, when is it going to be done? He could help out with that. So that was cool. And then also, like, I don't think I've talked about this, but we gave my son a 3DS for Christmas so he could play Hey Pikmin. And now we have a 3DS, and we just finished Hey Pikmin. So mostly he played it by himself. Towards the end, the level started to get a little bit more challenging, and he would hand it to me. But Hey Pikmin's pretty fun. I mean, I think Pikmin translates okay into 2D, sort of weird platforming.
Is it still kind of almost real-time strategy management stuff?
Not really.
Yeah.
It's more like 2D exploration. It's not even that heavy of platforming. Sometimes there can be management, but with it's all, touch screen to throw them. So it can be like a little hectic of like you're touching all over to try to throw it. But I think it's okay. Like it's an enjoyable experience from my perspective. It's not the best Pikmin game or anything, but I feel like there's more for me to talk about, but I will stop there.
All good. Matt, you want to go next?
Yeah. As I said at the top of the episode, I played through Inscription. Put like 15 hours into it in 2 or 3 days. I could not put it down. If you're not familiar with Inscription, it's a deck building game, deck building / roguelite. It's on PC, came out in October, and it was a lot of people's game of the year last year. And man, I'm so charmed by that game. The sound design, the deck building mechanics, the story, the lore. I don't want to spoil too much. If you want to play it, you should play it. Don't read anything about it, because I just loved it so much.
Can you explain anything? Because like anything that would make it different from something like Slay the Spire, because it's right now it just kind of looks like first person Slay the Spire.
It is first person Slay the Spire roguelite, where you build your deck over many matches in order to defeat bosses. And then you have certain power-ups that do certain things on the board. You can cut up cards, you can steal cards, and then you win by doing 6 damage in a row. And it's like a scale. So you have to do 6 damage, but every damage that you get dealt decreases from that number. So it's like the first to 6 wins. And so some of the matches are really, really quick, but some of them take a little while.
Gotcha. And it's a roguelike game, but you like finished it. You like beat it.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there like more to unlock? Because I know like a roguelite fashion is like you beat the game and then there's like 20 more bosses after that.
If you played a roguelite, then you're very familiar with the mechanics. It's just, it's a darling. To say the least. I had a friend suggest it to me and I just couldn't put it down. Just really, really enjoyed Inscription. So I'm excited. Hopefully it gets a console port, or all of y'all that are playing, getting a Steam Deck. You should play it.
Do you think this could easily run on the Switch?
It feels like it. It's got this like a retro feel to it.
Well, yeah, hope they port it. I'll go next. Is that all you've been? That's it?
Play Inscription, everyone.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I'll go next. Like I said a little bit ago, I've been diving back into some of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. It's been free. I think it's like still free. I think the trial ends in like 3 days, so you'll have like 1 day to play it whenever this episode comes out. And it's a great game. I actually played through like the first book and have started on the second book of the game. I'd played a lot of that before. I played it already. This is a game that I actually had on the Wii U. But it's super fun. I was playing some with Saturday, and that was a blast. Playing that game co-op is like definitely the way to go. It's just really fun, and like fighting over the camera in and of itself is kind of fun. So I enjoyed that. Let's see. Picross 7 released since we met last. So I picked up Picross 7. Great game. Love it. As you would think, it's more Picross. They did add a handheld touchscreen mode into this game now, which I didn't think I would like, but I kind of do. It's like you really have to play with the stylus, and you have to play with the Joy-Cons off so that your like thumb can like easily hit the like different kinds of boxes you want to do. So if you kind of like hold it just like a tablet itself, that's kind of like the only way you can really play that. But I haven't actually like gotten to 15 by 15 square puzzles yet, and that might be hard with like a thick stylus. You know what I mean? So feeling like that might be too small. We'll see. I'll check back in next week with you folks. But Picross 7, it's more Picross. Love to see it. Played a little bit of Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics the other day as well. Mainly Mancala and some Hanafuda, just my old classics that I love to play. So I was doing some of that. And then, I've been doing streams recently where I've been playing the Mario Advance 4 e-reader levels, which were kind of like, it's kind of like an official ROM hack from Nintendo. It's like also something else I describe it as is like Mario Maker before Mario Maker. It's, them kind of taking all of the Mario Advance games, which up to that point was like Super Mario Brothers 2, Yoshi's Island, Mario World, and then Mario 3, which was Mario Advance 4, and kind of like bringing in elements of all of them into these levels that were released as like e-reader cards that you would scan into your Game Boy Advance e-reader. And I've been playing that. I actually have my Xbox in dev mode. Was playing a ROM of it on that, but it also released on the Wii U. So it's definitely worth checking out there. And that's about it. I feel like I was playing something else, but I kind of forget. But mainly I've just been going out into nature and taking hikes.
Breath of the Wild, IRL.
Yeah. A breath like my life has become a breath like, at least it was today. The rest of the weekend I spent inside. Rachel, what have you been playing this past week?
I've been playing, I'm always playing Animal Crossing. Mm-hmm. And I've also been playing the Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I think that's for free right now. I had never played this, but I think, David, you helped me out. I was trying to understand. I'm like, is this just like the little Captain Toad levels from 3D World, but like a whole game of it? Because that's the best. So, I missed. It was on sale up until I think Sunday, and I missed it. But I might pick it up next time it goes on sale. It's been so fun. I'm playing. Lego Harry Potter. I think I bought that this time last year during the New Year's sale.
Yeah.
It's just been sitting on my Switch. I've I love the Lego games. Lego Star Wars is super fun, so I picked this up, and I'm like halfway through year 5, and it's adorable.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I love the Lego games.
Me too.
I wonder when
So
that
charming.
Lego Star Wars game is going to come out. They've been talking about forever.
Yeah, the Skywalker saga.
Skywalker.
Yeah.
I thought we should do an episode on Lego games at some point, but
Yeah, we definitely should. There are so
should.
many good ones. Yeah.
anyway.
Well, we just came up with a new episode idea just like that.
See you next week, y'all.
The sausage is made.
Yeah, so I think that does it then. Thank you so much, Rachel, for coming and joining us.
Thank you.
As always, very nice to have you. Thanks to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy, who does our awesome music. If you're looking for me, Patrick online, most places I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Rachel? Where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter at Rachel Kane. That's with a K.
There you go. Easy enough. Go find Rachel. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter. We are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. And like we've said a couple times this episode, join our Discord, man. Join our community. It's a great poppin' zone of the enders for you and all your friends. And then we've also got our Facebook group as well, which is also a great community. Both of these are constantly popping off, filled with some of the best people on the internet. You would behoove yourself to go check those out. That's gonna do it for this episode. What a blast. I love Kirby. Kirby is like kind of like the weird stepchild of Nintendo, you know, so it's nice to give like Kirby his due, even though Nintendo will never stop making Kirby games. And as much as we might like to see an F-Zero, we'll probably see 5 or 6 Kirby games before we see another one of those. But still is worth talking about. It was fun to talk about with you guys. We're going to have a great episode for you guys next week, so make sure you tune in. And in the meantime, folks, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Ring that bell so you get our videos right off the bat whenever they are released. And stay safe out there, guys. Fucking COVID. We thought we wouldn't get it. And Patrick went and got it. And so it's like real, and it sucks, right? You can say it sucks, right?
Yeah, and nobody wants to get sick.
Yeah,
but do get
sucks.
the vaccine.
Yeah, get the vaccine
because it's you might have a different experience than me, but it's going to help your chances.
Oh, yeah. You basically won't die. So if you don't want to die, get the vaccine and get boosted, man, because that's helping quite a bit these days. And maybe one of these days I'll get the damn thing. I hope not, but time will
I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah. Time will surely tell. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Love yourselves. Love each other. Be safe. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.